Welcome to the Weather Guru podcast for October 26, 2025, a special edition, Hurricane Melissa edition that we're going to be talking about here through the next couple of minutes here. If you're just joining us, Hurricane Melissa, as of the latest 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time advisory, is a Category 4 on the Safford-Simpson scale, with winds, maximum sustained winds at 140 miles an hour. That makes it a strong Category 4. It's forecast to be a Category 5 hurricane sometime after tomorrow, with winds exceeding 160 miles an hour with some higher gusts. Now, right now, the current positioning is 120 miles south-southeast of Kingston, Jamaica. It's currently moving west at 5 miles an hour. Now, the movement has come up by 2 miles an hour. Last time the advisory was last night, it was only moving west at 3 miles an hour, almost stationary. Now it's picked up speed a little bit, moving west at 5 miles an hour. So that's somewhat of a good news that it may cut down on, if it does continue with faster motion, it will cut down on some of the rain totals that could be experienced in eastern sections of Jamaica. So we'll get back to that in a minute here, but I just want to show you the structure here. You see the stadium eye there, clear looking down there, the cold cloud top surrounding the eye wall here, and it looks like, the eye is pretty well defined here. On the southwest side, there's a little bit of a gap there. There could be a radar gap there, but so far the storm is fanning out beautifully here. You see the beautiful outflow, cirrus clouds high above there, shooting out there, the cool cloud, cold tops, and inflow. You see the inflow is very much not disturbed. So we have that working for it, as well as warm sea surface temperatures. Sea surface temperatures are above 86 degrees Fahrenheit. All the conditions are needed to sustain a major hurricane throughout the duration here. So we're going to be talking about all of these effects here in just one moment. Now, we have hurricane warnings here in purple, of course, for the whole island of Jamaica, from Negril, Montego Bay, all the way back through Kingston and the eastern parishes of Jamaica. We have the tropical storm warnings in effect still for the Tiburon Peninsula of Haiti. You're still undergone, as well as eastern Cuba. All of these areas are going to be inundated with 10 to 12 to 14 inches of rain, possibly more, and isolated conditions as the system continues to make westward movement. Now, you can see the current path here. Like I said, the movement is increased west at 5 miles an hour. Maximum sustained winds 140 miles an hour. I give you that pressure there at 952 millibars, so that's definitely major hurricane territory with this system. Now, you notice the hurricane center has shifted the cone, the center of the circulation, a little bit more westward. Now, this is good news for Kingston. The further westward it is, the more the storm surge to the east of this will be away from Kingston. So that's good news. If this trend continues, that'll be good news for Jamaica, because that means that the center of circulation, if it continues a westward motion and doesn't make that northward turn, then let's say over by Negril and Montego Bay, then that's good news. Now, I'm also talking about the other good news too here. Looking at the system, it has not undergone a eyewall replacement cycle. So what happens is, a lot of times these major hurricanes, they peak out over the ocean. Let's say it gets up to 165 miles an hour, which they are forecasting it to be in the next day or so. So let's say Monday afternoon, it peaks out in maximum intensity as a Category 5. Sometimes just before landfall, if it is going to make a landfall, we don't know yet, but if it's wobbly and it doesn't make a landfall, it could undergo an eyewall replacement cycle. That's one way that it could weaken here, okay, guys? And what happens is, it'll weaken from a Category 5 to a 3 just before landfall. We see that a lot with a lot of storms that have interacted with the United States in the past, in the Gulf. We see that a lot. So it's possible that it could undergo an eyewall replacement cycle somewhere between, let's say, if it is going to make a landfall, let's say between 20 to 60 nautical miles away from 20 to 80 nautical miles, 20 to 60 miles, 20 to 60 nautical miles away from it making an actual landfall, okay, because it's approaching from the south. So if it does undergo an ERC, an eyewall replacement cycle, that means it could landfall as a 3, but it'll still be a major hurricane, so you still have winds above 120 miles an hour, but it'll be not less than the Category 5 that they have forecast now. So that's one way that it could weaken. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I'm saying that's one way that it could weaken. Another thing to notice too about the system is, like I said, with the track being shifted westward here, it's possible that it could barely clip the western tip of the island. So people like Negril, areas like Negril, Montego Bay, you could get that, but that would be a much better outcome for Kingston, for Pearl River, Black River, for areas, Portmore, for areas east of that, and the airport too, because the storm surge will come up basically in the center of the island, and that's more of a lesser populated portion of the island, right, than if it's coming up now. So the track is shifting westward. We get the next advisory at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and we're going to all see if that track is going to continue to shift westward off of the island of Jamaica. That would be excellent news in terms of Jamaica. Now, however, here's the here's the not so good news, is that no matter if the storm shifts all the way off Jamaica, you're still going to be in that eastern side of the storm here, which I'm going to show you, which is the dirty side, and that's going to produce a lot of heavy rainfall. So there will be a lot of flooding in certain areas, and you know, guys, those areas in Jamaica that flood. Now, I'm going to the Jamaica Weather Service here, and you can see I'm going to show you the areas here right now, okay? This is the island of Jamaica. So right now, the storm is forecast to come in somewhere east of, let's say, east of Mandeville, Jamaica, okay? So that's good news. Now, if it can, the center of the storm, I should say, rather. So that puts all of these areas here, like Kingston, Spanish Town, Portmore, St. Catherine, St. Mary's, all these areas to the east on that side where the bunch of the rain is forecasted. And that's why the Hurricane Center has 20 inches of rain coming into all these areas, including the mountains. And with the mountains, you have the orographic lifting here. You know, you have the Blue Mountains. So what that means is, guys, is that it's going to enhance the rain as the hurricane clouds lift over that rain. It's going to squeeze it out like a washcloth, and it's going to squeeze this moisture out across the mountains of Jamaica, and all that rain is going to come rushing down. All that moisture is going to come rushing down the sides of the mountain, producing mudslides, landslides. So that rain threat is going to be one of the major threats of this system. Yes, the winds are going to be high, but the thing is, I think you can handle that. I think Jamaica's used to those type of storms. We had Gilbert, we've had Beryl, we've had other storms, but the rain threat is something that's going to be, has to be mitigated, because it's going to be heavy rain, and of course the storm surge of up to 13 feet possible with the system on the southern side of Jamaica, obviously. Now, so that's the good news. I told you some of the bad news some of the potential bad news that we could have. Now, another good news is, like I said, is the movement is starting to pick up a little bit of speed, meaning the jet stream above this system, or that's just above Cuba here in Florida, up here, is picking up. It's starting to pick up some of the stirring currents there. So if that movement continues to move faster, that also can be a blessing, and also can be a bonus, I should say, for the system as well. So that's three things I want to show you. Now, let's go back to the key messages here for Hurricane Melissa. Once again, regardless of the track, because the hurricane force winds only extend out, well, they extend out 25 miles from the center, okay? But because the tropical storm force winds obviously extend out over 150 miles from the center, damaging winds are expected Monday and Monday night with this system, and into Tuesday morning. And so you can have long duration power outages, life-threatening storm surge, of course, and that includes Haiti, Dominican Republic, Eastern Cuba. This whole zone here is included in that. And I want to show you the rainfall totals here. It's possible that some areas can get up to 40 inches of rain here on the eastern tip of Jamaica in that purple area there. So that includes, now you can still get 20 to 30 inches in Kingston, Portmore, the airport, up towards St. Mary, St. Catherine's Parish, stuff like that, even Clarendon. So it just depends on how the system approaches in the next day or so. So Monday morning, Monday afternoon, we'll have a better idea, because obviously the system will have made that turn that it's forecast to make Monday afternoon, some between 2 p.m. and 2 a.m. Tuesday. That's when that's the game time. But by then, everybody should have all the preparations been ready to go, because regardless if it makes a landfall to the west of Kingston or actually comes closer to Kingston, either way, you're looking at hurricane conditions in Jamaica, or most of Jamaica will be under hurricane conditions, meaning winds above 75 miles an hour for an extended period of time, say 6 to 12 hours, right? And we can also have that flooding rains that are going to be just pounding the island for the next day or two. Wednesday, by 2 a.m. Wednesday, it's expected to be eastern Cuba, so Jamaica, you'll be on just getting strong southerly breeze. The rainfall should subside, but however, that flow still pulling that moisture up northward is still going to be there for Haiti and Jamaica and eastern Cuba, and that's where the Hurricane Center has that total coming in, because that pool of moisture is still going to be there throughout Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday, everyone's out to clear, and then there has to be something more of a concern for Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, and even Bermuda later on in the forecast period. Now, also with Melissa too, I should say, is that the sea surface temperatures there, and there's no winds here. So the only changes that we're looking for is just internal structural changes with the system in terms of weakening. Like I said, once again, eyewall replacement cycle could knock it down to a 3 if it is going to make a landfall, or we don't get an eyewall replacement cycle till after it crosses Jamaica area and it gets towards eastern Cuba. Then they go through the ERC. Then it goes to an ERC. But you see the sea surface temperature above 85 degrees Fahrenheit in this orange, all in the Caribbean Sea. And then you can also see the structure of the system here. Now, there is a concern that it's possible that this could wobble and shift. So if it does wobble and shift and make a turn, there's another scenario too that it could miss the island altogether, but that's very unlikely. I got that at a less than 10% chance, meaning that if it makes a turn to the north, if it keeps going west and doesn't make that turn to after it passes Jamaica and goes up here, then that would put more of the Little Cayman block and possibly, you know, more of Cuba and central Cuba in that in the scenario. But that that forecast to me has a less than 10% chance of verifying, because right now we have to see. So once again, we'll see by tonight. I would say by tonight, stay tuned for that 5 p.m. and that 8 p.m. intermediate advisory, because you're going to see if that's possible. This cone will be the shifting, will continue to shift west between that time. If it does not shift, if you wake up Monday and it's Monday, and you get it Monday and 11 a.m. advisory, say, and the cone doesn't shift, that means that it is going to make landfall in Jamaica, but it will be, Kingston will probably be spared in terms of the worst, because that means that the system is going to make a landfall more on the western side of Jamaica than where's the eastern side like we have right now. And that's great news, okay? So it is, like I said, hang in there. You know, it's going to be a major hurricane, but hang in there. There's still hope, and, you know, we're going to get through this together. Even in eastern Cuba, even in Haiti, you know, there is flooding going on right now. I can show you the rainfall here. But the good news is that the system is picking up speed. And so the more speed it picks up, the better it is with not sitting over in one area, just spinning and bringing a bunch of rain out, picking up from this source from the Caribbean Sea and also from the North Atlantic, or Mid-Atlantic, I should say. So just something to keep in mind there. But this has been your update right now for 8 a.m. advisory for Hurricane Melissa on 10/26/2025. Stay safe, everyone. Thanks for listening, and I'll bring you back another update later on this afternoon around 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, once the intensification process has been maximized here with this system. Thank you for joining. I'll talk to you very soon. God bless.